Language as a Social Marker, a presentation by Rosini Robinson, Brianna Bryce, and Nardia Pinnock Walters, in partial fulfillment of the requirements of the Fountain 16 course.
We all might have been in a position where we are trying to explain something to someone, but they are not getting the exact picture we are trying to paint. When this happens, miscommunication occurs, which may lead to confusion on the person deciphering the message or the person interpreting the literal meaning. Take a look at these images, for example. In the first image, we have a husband speaking to his wife, and he's saying, "In the moonlight, your teeth look just like pearls." And the wife replies, "Who's Pearl? And what were you doing in the moonlight with her?" So in this context, you see where the wife is taking what the husband is saying literally, and their miscommunication occurs. In the next image, we have the lady who is on a date with a clown, and she says, "Yes, on my profile, I said I was looking for a man with a sense of humor. But so you see, she got what she literally asked for." So in instances like this, as I said before, miscommunication occurs. We communicate using different forms of language. The language we choose usually determines the environment, culture, or people we are communicating with. Social markers in language are created in instances where we might be in a different cultural environment or a higher social class. We will be looking at different instances in which social markers are caused because of language.
Imagine you're a Jamaican visiting Trinidad and Tobago for the first time. While there, you ask for a bulla and instantly realize you've said something that isn't the norm based on the oddsters you receive. You don't know what the issue is, but you continue asking for your bulla because you want the sweet baked Jamaican treat bulla. The problem is, in Trinidad, bulla is a derogatory term used to refer to a homosexual man. Shocked? Confused? I was when I first encountered it. This is a reoccurring trend across the multicultural Caribbean nation. These breaks in communication, these are language and or dialectic barriers. These barriers are directly related to one's dialect, the same being defined as a variety of language that signals where a person comes from. This notion of dialect is usually interpreted geographically in the first case to mean regional. However, dialect can further be broken down to mean the dialect of one's country. With each generation, dialect varies in response to social and environmental changes, while retaining its base cultural significance. What this means is while there are similarities across the region, there are differences in how we speak from country to country. And because of the assumed similarities, the natives of one country may assume that what is a culturally significant word to their country may be the same in another, but this isn't necessarily the case. This can also be seen through these words and or phrases. Baggy in Jamaica refers to an underwear, while in the Bahamas it is a homemade frozen pop popular among children. This frozen pop would be the equivalent to the Jamaican suck suck. Ackee is a yellow fruit of West African origin which forms one half of the Jamaican national dish. In Barbados, ackee refers to the fruit we know in Jamaica to be guinea. These barriers also exist within one's own country. In response to the demarcation between the different social classes, class dialects refer to that manner of exchanging ideas that are unique to the member of that class. That is how you communicate based on your personal socioeconomic background.
Language discrimination may lead to classism. So classism is basically when you are treated differently based on your social class or in different contexts like we have here, language. Those who are of a higher social class or status usually give off condescending gestures to people who choose to communicate using informal language. So depending on the environment that you are in, say for example, I am in a meeting with the Prime Minister and his team. And this would be considered as a formal environment. We're having a conversation and he is speaking standard English, of course. But then I am there speaking plain patois or just broken English. Everyone would probably look at me and be like, oh wow, her speech is so awful. Or as we Jamaicans would say, chichat buddy. After all, it is a formal setting. Immediately, a negative image is created of me. It might be said that I don't have any respect or just that I was unprepared for the meeting. So a language barrier is created here when you cannot communicate using the appropriate or required language for the setting you are in. In Jamaica, speaking standard English would give the impression that you are more civilized than patois users. Javed was explaining in his article that he did not like to speak patois. He usually speaks standard English all the time. He also mentioned that Jamaicans regard you differently when you speak standard English, and we can see this in our everyday society. Another point that he made that ties in with this was when he said he realized that at a very young age, proficiency in English was a mark of social class. I would repeat that. Proficiency in English was a mark of social class. I myself have been placed in positions where I feel as if I am forced to speak standard English just to fit in or not be looked down on. So yeah, moving on. So this is an image that gives you an example or a rundown of informal language versus formal language. So you can go through that, you know. Moving on.
On to our third point, communication gap challenges. Communication involves the sending and receiving of messages. However, as persons grow older, there is an evident gap with how persons communicate with the young. Please watch this video for a better understanding.
Come here, Sarah. Pass my honey back for me in the kitchen. But wait, why you look so? Are you all right?
Everything, Chris, Grandma.
What you mean, Chris? Who is Chris? Your boyfriend?
Chris means everything is okay. I am fine, Grandma.
All right then, Sarah. So how was online school for you, my sweetie?
School was meh.
Meh? I can't talk to these young people nowadays, you know. It looks like I need a dictionary to communicate with them. See, them languages from a different generation. Do you agree, people?
Yes. So let's take a few questions, comments from the audience. Rosini, do you think that there's a communication gap between the young and the old?
Yes, for the simple fact that the slangs and jargons being used by the grandchild was not recognizable by the grandmother.
Thank you. And Brianna?
I agree totally because I go through this also with my grandmother because we speak on a daily basis, and sometimes when I'm speaking to her, she'd be like the same reaction that the grandmother just had just now. She's like, "Oh, what you mean? What
Mhm.
you talk about?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and I have to be explaining. So yeah, I totally understand. I get it.
Thank you very much. Let's now look at the different age groups that exist. So for a better understanding of the age group, let us talk about the four main types of communication generations and how they communicate differently. The first one are the baby boomers, and these are persons 56 years and older. They value face-to-face communication even though they are exposed to technology. Generation X, the next age group, are persons 40 to 55 years, and these persons are not tech savvy. But if they are resilient, they are able to adopt and communicate with others using technology. For the millennials, persons ages 24 to 39, these individuals are classified as digital natives, which means they can efficiently use the technology for communication and business purposes. The youngest of the four generations are called Generation Z. These are individuals born between 1997 and present. So these individuals will be either 23-year-olds to the babies who are in the hundreds. These individuals are born with technology around them and prefer instant media as their preferred method of communication. So as we can see, these four groups have different communication styles. Language as a communication gap. Languages in all cultures are ever changing due to the influence of popular culture. Dalzell and Victor in 2005 stated that slangs have been widely accepted since the 1950s as an illegitimate and colloquial speech among the people. The contribution of slangs and phrases to the lingo has been primarily contributed by the younger generations of a country, region, or community. When slangs are used, individuals who are from the baby boomers or Generation X demographic may find it difficult to communicate with the members of the younger generations because they cannot comprehend or there is some form of miscommunication. To bridge this gap, persons should teach the older ones how to communicate and to have a better understanding of the words or phrases. This, if there is poor communication, this can negatively affect communication in the workplace, classroom, and other social settings, potentially leading to conflict. Next slide. Under communication gaps, emojis, memes, and GIFs are very popular in today's society, meaning that communication is no longer exclusive to language, words, and familiar symbols. Graphic images such as these were originally introduced in 1987 and have become a part of our culture. These GIFs, emojis, and memes have been used on flashing billboards and icons on the computer screen. Individuals that fall within the Generation X and baby boomers, if not educated to understand these text features of communication, will not be able to interpret them or may fall into miscommunication. Now, this is a very common problem as people have varied interpretations of emojis, memes, and GIFs within platform and cross-platform. Let us take a look at these two images and let's see if we can identify the interpretation of them. For me, the first image represents someone who is ill. What about you, Brianna?
I don't think it's someone ill. I usually use this emoji when I am either flirting and I'm saying something that is cringe or something of the sort. Yeah.
Okay, and Rosini?
For me, it's almost as though it's a quirky, nerdy individual being put in an awkward situation.
Yes. And we can all attest that the other emoji is very common, representing a happy person, right?
Yes.
Probably. You may never know, as the thing said, it can be used to represent different kind of emotions. So it's just depending on how you feel.
Kind of trick
Yes.
almost seems like, when you're being placed in an awkward situation at work and you can't
Mm-hmm.
relay what you truly want to relay, you give that fake
I
smile.
can say, yeah, that fake smile. I can say, yeah, man, I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. Okay. So to wrap up our presentation, we can attest that communication can occur may occur due to different interpretations of words, and that is within, across the country, and across the Caribbean. Language discrimination may lead to classism, and it speaks to informal and formal speech. Right? It also determines a person's level of education and social status. And communication gaps occur across generations between the young and the old. Thank you for watching our presentation. We do hope that you have learned about communication, languages, and styles.